The great hall of the Galactic Council was quiet. It was always quiet. For 12,000 years, the many species of the galaxy had kept peace through careful words and gentle agreements. War was something from old stories. Violence was primitive. The Council believed they had moved beyond such things. Ambassador Relo stood near his seat, watching the other Council members talk in soft voices. He was a Valen, a tall and thin creature with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His people were known for their calm nature and love of order. Relo had served on the Council for 60 years. He had seen many things: trade agreements, border disputes, cultural exchanges. Nothing had ever truly surprised him. Until today. The transmission came without warning. Every screen in the chamber lit up at once. Every speaker crackled with the same voice. It was a human voice. A man. He sounded tired and afraid. But there was something else in his words. Something hard. Something that refused to break. "This is Captain Park Tae-ho of the cargo vessel Starling. We are under attack. Unknown ships, unknown species. They hit us near the outer rim. Our engines are damaged. Weapons are gone. We cannot run." There was a pause. Sounds of distant explosions. Children crying. "There are 17 of us. 6 are children. We are hiding in the cargo hold. To anyone who hears this message, please. We need help. Coordinates are attached. Please hurry." The message ended. The chamber was silent. Relo felt his heart's beating faster. He looked around at his fellow council members. The Morthians had turned gray with fear. The Jelki were trembling. Even the mighty Torvins, who stood 8 feet tall and had skin like stone, looked uncomfortable. It was not the attack that frightened them. Pirates existed. Raiders existed. Such things were sad, but normal. What frightened them was simpler. The victims were human, and everyone knew what that meant. Counselor Miva, a small creature with soft fur and large black eyes, spoke first. Her voice shook. "Perhaps the attackers do not know. Perhaps they do not understand what species they have attacked." "No, it does not matter," said Counselor Torek, a Torvan elder. His deep voice rumbled like distant thunder. "The humans will know. The humans always know when one of their own is in danger." As if to prove his words, another transmission cut through the chamber. This one came from far away. 60 light-years away. From a small blue planet called Earth. The voice was calm. Too calm. It belonged to a woman. "This is Admiral Shin Ji-ho of the Terran United Fleet. We have received the distress signal from the Starling. The First Fleet is mobilizing. The Third Fleet is mobilizing. The Seventh Fleet is mobilizing. 300 warships will arrive at the transmitted coordinates in 14 standard hours. To whoever has attacked our people, you have made a very serious mistake. We are coming." The transmission ended. Relo sat down slowly. His legs felt weak. 14 hours. Earth was 60 light-years from the attack site. The fastest Velen ships needed 90 hours to cover that distance. Human ships were not supposed to be faster. Human ships were not supposed to be anything special, but humans were special. That was the problem. Counselor Miva accessed her data screen with shaking hands. "The Starling," she read aloud. "A civilian cargo ship. Crew of 17. Captain Park Tae-ho, age 42. Chief Engineer Kang Yuna, age 35. Medical Officer Baek Sunwoo, age 29. Navigator Cho Hana, age 31. Traveling with her daughter Yoonji, age 7. She stopped reading. "They have children on board. Human children." The chamber grew even more quiet, if that was possible. Everyone knew about humans and their children. Humans would die for their children. Humans would kill for their children. Humans would burn entire worlds for their children. It was not a threat. It was simply their nature. "What do we do?" asked a young Jelki counselor. "Should we send ships to help?" Rilo shook his head slowly. "Our fastest ships would arrive in 90 hours. The humans will be there in 14, By the time we arrive, it will be over. He paused. Whatever it is, it will be over. Should we warn the attackers? Miva suggested. Tell them what they face? Torek made a sound that might have been a laugh. Warn them? Tell them that they have attacked the children of a death world? Tell them that 300 warships, crewed by the most dangerous species in the galaxy, are coming for them? He shook his massive head. Let them learn. Some lessons must be experienced. Relo thought about the humans. He had met many of them over the years. They seemed so normal, so friendly. They smiled easily. They made jokes. They helped strangers, without expecting anything in return. They kept small animals as companions, and spoke to plants as if they were friends. But Relo had also seen the other side. He had read the reports from their home world. Earth, a planet of death. 70% of its surface was covered in water that would kill most species. Its air contained oxygen, a gas so dangerous it could start fires and destroy metal. The planet had earthquakes, floods, storms, and wildfires. Its animals had claws and teeth and poison, and humans had conquered all of it. They had risen to the top of their world, not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the most stubborn, the most clever, the most willing to fight and die, and fight again. Now someone had hurt their people. Someone had threatened their children. Relo looked at the star map on the main screen. 300 human warships were tearing through space. Somewhere out there, a group of foolish raiders had no idea what was coming for them. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Clear my schedule, he told his assistant. I want to watch this. Admiral Shin Jiho stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable and watched the stars stretch into lines as the ship entered faster than light travel. Around her, 300 warships moved as one. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, carriers full of fighter craft. All of them racing toward a single point in space, where 17 of their people waited. Jiho was 63 years old. She had gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen many battles. She had served in the Terran fleet for 40 years. She had fought pirates, stopped invasions, and protected human colonies across 100 star systems. But she had never seen the fleet mobilize this fast. The distress call had come at 0300 hours. By 0315, the first fleet was ready to launch. By 0330, the third and seventh fleets had joined them. No orders were needed. No debates. No questions. A human ship was in danger. Human children were in danger. That was all anyone needed to know. Admiral, said Commander O. Minji, stepping up beside her. Minji was younger, perhaps 35, with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She was the best tactical officer Jiho had ever worked with. We have identified the attackers. Show me. Minji activated the holographic display. An image appeared of strange ships. They were ugly things, covered in spikes and weapons. The design spoke of cruelty. They call themselves the Crix Dominion, Minji explained. Slavers. They have operated in uncharted space for about 800 years. They raid weak species, capture them, and sell them. Their fleet has 40 ships. 40 ships. Jiho nodded slowly. They must feel very powerful. According to our records, they have never lost a battle. They choose their targets carefully. They attack only species that cannot fight back. Minji paused. They have never encountered humans before. Then they are about to receive an education. Far across the galaxy, on a Velan observation station, a different kind of education was taking place. Terrace was a xenobiologist. She studied alien species. For the past 10 years, she had focused on one species in particular. The species that confused and terrified the galaxy more than any other. Humans. Today, her young apprentice had many questions. Teacher, the apprentice said, his blue skin pale with worry. Why is everyone so afraid? The humans are sending help. Is that not a good thing? Terrace sighed and sat down. Come, let me show you something. She activated a holographic display. A blue and green planet appeared. Beautiful. Peaceful. It looked like a paradise. This is Earth, Terrace said. The human homeworld. Look at it. So pretty. So calm. She touched a control, and data began scrolling across the screen. Now, let me tell you what it really is. The apprentice leaned forward. 70% of that surface is water. But not clean water. Salt water. If you drink it, you die. If you swim in it too long, it damages your skin. And living in that water are creatures with hundreds of teeth that can smell blood from miles away. The apprentice swallowed nervously. The air contains oxygen, a reactive gas. It feeds fire. It rusts metal. If you are not adapted to it, it will poison you. Terrace continued. The planet has earthquakes that destroy cities, storms that flatten forests, mountains that explode with liquid rock, floods that wash away everything in their path. Luddy. And today. Luddy. How can anything live there? Wait, I have not told you about the animals yet. Terrace pulled up more images. Creatures with claws. Creatures with fangs. Creatures with poison. These are some of Earth's predators. Notice how many of them have forward-facing eyes. That is the sign of a hunter. A species that chases and kills. She pulled up one final image. A human. Standing upright. 2 arms. 2 legs. Forward-facing eyes. Humans evolved on this death world. They survived it. They conquered it. They killed so many of their predators that most of them no longer exist. And they did it without claws, without fangs, without armor or poison. Terrace looked at her apprentice. They did it with their minds, and with one other thing. Having the Rospline. Without what? Each other. Terrace stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the darkness. Humans are pack bonders, the strongest pack bonders in the known galaxy. They form connections with anything. Other humans, animals, even machines. And when something threatens their pack, they become something else entirely. What do they become? Terrace was quiet for a long moment. Their ancestors lived in a world full of predators. To survive, they had to become the greatest predators of all. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the most determined, the most cooperative, the most willing to keep fighting no matter the cost. She turned back to her apprentice. That is what the Cricks have awakened. Not humans, the friendly explorers. Not humans, the curious scientists. They have awakened humans, the predators. Humans, the hunters. Humans, the wolves. Wolves? An earth creature. They hunt in packs. They are loyal to their family above all else. Humans nearly drove them extinct, but then they changed their minds. They decided to protect them instead. Terrace smiled sadly. That is the other thing about humans. They can be the most gentle species you will ever meet. They rescue injured animals. They plant flowers for no reason. They tell stories to their children about hope and courage. That does not sound scary. No. It sounds wonderful. And it is, until you hurt someone they love. Terrace looked at the star map, where a small dot marked the location of the Starling. There are children on that ship. Human children. And right now, 300 warships full of the most dangerous predators in the galaxy are racing to save them. She shook her head slowly. I almost feel sorry for the Cricks. Almost. The cargo hold of the Starling was dark and cold. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the metal walls. Somewhere above, the ship's damaged systems groaned and clicked, and beyond the sealed door, something was trying to get in. Captain Park Tejo leaned against a stack of cargo containers, breathing slowly. His left shoulder was burned. A plasma bolt had hit him during the first attack, when he had pushed his navigator out of the way. The pain was bad, but he ignored it. He had ignored worse. In his good hand, he held a metal pipe. "They're cutting through the door," said Baek Sunwoo, the medical officer. He was young, with kind eyes that looked too soft for this situation, but his hands were steady as he worked on Taeho's shoulder. "The seal will hold for maybe 2 more hours. Then we have 2 more hours," Taeho replied. Across the hold, Chief Engineer Kang Yuna was working on the communication system. She had built a small transmitter from spare parts. It was not powerful enough to reach any nearby stations, but it was strong enough to receive incoming signals. "The fleet is coming," she said without looking up. Admiral Shin confirmed. 14 hours. We only have 2 hours of door," Sunwoo said quietly. "Then we hold the door for 2 hours. And then we hold whatever comes next." Taeho looked toward the corner of the hold, where the most important cargo was hidden. 6 children sat in a circle, surrounded by blankets and emergency supplies. The oldest was 12. The youngest was 5. They were scared. Of course they were scared, but they were also quiet and brave, in the way that only children can be. Navigator Cho Hana sat with them, her arm around her daughter Unji. Hana was telling them a story. Her voice was soft and calm, as if they were sitting around a campfire instead of hiding from monsters. "Long ago," Hana was saying, "our ancestors lived on a world full of danger. There were great cats with teeth like knives, bears as tall as trees, wolves that hunted in packs under the moon." "Were the people scared?" asked Unji. "Sometimes. But they were also smart and brave, and they had each other." Hana smiled. "They learned to make fire to keep warm. They made tools to hunt. They built homes to stay safe. And when the wolves came, do you know what they did?" The children shook their heads. "They made friends with them. They fed the wolves. They gave them warmth, and the wolves became their partners, their protectors. Together, humans and wolves became the strongest team on the whole planet." "Are there still wolves?" a small boy asked. "Yes. We brought them with us to the stars, and we learned something from them. Something important." "What?" "Family is everything. Pack is everything. You protect your pack, and your pack protects you. Always." The ship shook. A loud bang echoed through the hull. The cutting tool outside the door was working faster now. On the other side of that door, Commander Vrex of the Krix Dominion was growing impatient. Vrex was large even for his species. His gray skin was covered in scars from many battles. His eyes were black and empty, like holes in space. He had led raiding parties for 200 years. He had captured thousands of slaves from dozens of species. He had never failed. These creatures, though, these strange 2-legged animals, they confused him. "Why do they not surrender?" his lieutenant asked. "We have disabled their ship. We have killed their weapons. They are trapped. They have offspring with them. Normal prey species would have given up hours ago." Vrex watched the door through a sensor display. He could see the shapes moving behind it. One of them was clearly injured. All of them should be weak with fear, but they were not. The injured one stood at the front, holding some kind of metal bar. A weapon? Ridiculous. It could not possibly hurt a Krix warrior. And yet, there he stood, ready to fight. "They are stupid," Vrex decided. "They do not understand that they are beaten. Cut faster. I want them alive. Unusual species sell for high prices." The lieutenant obeyed. The cutting beam grew brighter. The door began to glow red. Inside the cargo hold, Taeho felt the heat. He stepped back, but kept his pipe raised. Around him, the other adults gathered what weapons they could find. Yuna had a wrench. Sunwoo had a knife. Hana stayed with the children, but her hand rested on a piece of broken machinery. "If they get through," Taeho said quietly, "we buy time. Every second matters. The fleet is coming. How do you know they will get here? Yuna asked. Tejo smiled, despite the pain. Because I know humans. Because somewhere out there, an admiral heard that children were in danger. And I promise you, she is coming as fast as the laws of physics allow. Maybe faster. The door groaned. The metal was beginning to bend. And then Tejo felt something. A vibration in the deck. A frequency he recognized. The specific hum of ships exiting faster than light travel. Many ships. He looked up at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the stars beyond. His smile grew wider. They're here, he said. Hana pulled the children closer. Who? Who is here? Tejo lowered his pipe and laughed. It was a tired laugh, a relieved laugh. The laugh of a man who had held on just long enough. Everyone, he said. Everyone is here. Outside, Commander Vrex received a transmission from his sensor officer. The words made no sense to him. Commander, ships, many ships. They came out of nowhere. How many? A long pause. 300, Commander. 300 warships. Vrex felt something he had not felt in 200 years. Something cold. Something wrong. Fear. Space itself seemed to tear open as 300 human warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They appeared all at once, perfectly positioned, weapons already glowing with power. In the center of the formation, the flagship Indomitable led the charge. Admiral Shin Jiho stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. She could see the Krix fleet. 40 ships arranged in a loose circle around the damaged Starling. They looked like predators surrounding wounded prey. They had no idea they were about to become the prey. Open a channel, Jiho commanded. All frequencies. Channel open, Admiral, Jiho spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, almost gentle. That made it more terrifying. This is Admiral Shin Jiho of the Terran United Fleet. You have attacked a civilian vessel. You have threatened human children. You will power down your weapons. You will release your hostages. You will surrender. You have 60 seconds. Across the void, Commander Vrex received the transmission. He stared at the sensor display, at the impossible number of ships surrounding his fleet. For a moment, just a moment, he considered surrender. Then his pride spoke louder than his fear. They are bluffing, he told his crew. They would not start a war over one small ship. These are the rules of space. The strong take from the weak. That is how it has always been. He straightened his shoulders. All ships. Attack formation. Show these creatures what the Krix Dominion does to those who challenge us. All that. His 40 ships began to move. Weapons charged. Shields activated. On the Indomitable, Commander Minji watched the enemy ships change position. They are not surrendering, Admiral. They are preparing to fight. Jiho nodded slowly. Then we give them what they want. She looked at her crew. Hundreds of humans, all of them ready, all of them willing. All ships. Weapons free. Protect the Starling at all costs. And make sure some of them survive. Survive, Admiral? Yes. Someone needs to tell the rest of the galaxy what happens when you touch our people. The battle began. 40 Krix ships against 300 human warships should have been no contest. But the Krix had never lost. They believed themselves unbeatable. They believed wrong. Human ships moved in patterns that no computer could predict. They worked together like parts of a single body. When one ship was hit, 2 others covered it. When an enemy showed weakness, a dozen humans attacked at once. They communicated constantly, voices overlapping, commands flying back and forth faster than thought. The Krix fought as individuals. Strong individuals, yes. Dangerous individuals. But individuals alone. Humans fought as a pack. The first Krix cruiser fell in under a minute. Human destroyers surrounded it like wolves around a wounded animal. They hit it from every angle, overwhelming its shields. tearing through its armor. When it tried to retreat, a human battleship blocked its path. "Do not let them run," Jiho ordered. They wanted a fight. Now they have one. More Krix ships fell. 5, 10, 20. They tried to regroup, to form defensive lines, but the humans were too fast, too coordinated. Human pilots pushed their ships beyond every safety limit. They took damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. One human destroyer, its engines failing and its weapons nearly empty, saw a Krix cruiser trying to escape toward the Starling. The destroyer could not chase it, could not shoot it down, so the pilot did the only thing he could. He rammed it. The two ships collided in a flash of light. The Krix cruiser broke apart. The human destroyer was destroyed, but its crew had already escaped in pods. They had known exactly what they were doing. Commander Vrex watched his fleet die around him. Ships that had never been defeated were now burning wreckage. Warriors who had conquered dozens of species were screaming for help that would not come. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" His lieutenant had no answer. He was too busy staring at the sensor display, where the human flagship was moving directly toward them. "Commander Vrex," Admiral Jiho's voice came through the speakers. "You have 2 ships left. Surrender now, and some of your people will live. Continue fighting, and none of you will." Vrex looked at the destruction around him. 38 ships, gone. In 11 minutes, he surrendered. While the fleet secured the remaining Krix vessels, Commander Minji led a boarding party to the Starling. Her Marines moved through the damaged ship quickly, clearing corridors, checking for remaining threats. They found the Krix cutting team outside the cargo hold. The enemies were dealt with in seconds. Then Minji reached the door. "Starling crew," she called out. "This is Commander O. Minji of the Terran Marines. The ship is secure. You are safe." The door opened slowly. Inside, Minji saw them. 17 people. Tired, scared, hurt, but alive. Captain Tejo stood at the front, still holding his metal pipe. His shoulder was badly burned. His face was pale. But he was standing. "Captain Park," Minji said, offering a proper salute. "You held your position." Tejo finally let the pipe fall. "We knew you were coming. We just had to wait." Behind him, the children emerged. They looked at the Marines in their heavy armor, at the weapons they carried, at the strength in their faces. To any other species, they would have looked terrifying. To these children, they looked like heroes. Little Yunji, Hana's daughter, walked up to Minji. She was so small that her head barely reached the commander's waist. But her eyes were clear and curious. "Are you wolves?" she asked. Minji looked at this child. This tiny human who had just survived something terrible. Who had waited in the dark while monsters tried to break down the door. Who had not given up hope. The commander knelt down so they were eye to eye. She removed her helmet. Underneath, she had a kind face. Tired, yes. Hard, yes. But kind, yes, Minji said softly. "We are the wolves. Your ancestors made us, thousands of years ago. They taught us to protect the pack. They taught us to never abandon our own." Yunji smiled back. It was the first real smile anyone had seen in hours. "I knew you would come," she said. "Mom told me the story. Wolves always come. Always," Minji agreed. "Always." The news traveled across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species heard the story. Every world watched the recordings. The Krix Dominion, an empire of slavers that had terrorized the outer regions for 800 years, was broken in 11 minutes. 38 ships destroyed, 2 captured, 0 human casualties. On dozens of worlds, beings who had lived in fear of Krix raids looked up at the stars and wondered, who were these humans? What kind of species could do such a thing? The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Ambassador Relo sat in his usual seat, but nothing else felt usual. The chamber was full of fear, confusion, and something else. something like hope. A human delegation had been invited to speak. They arrived without warships, without weapons, without armor. Just 3 people in simple clothes. Their leader was a woman named Yoon Nari. She was small by human standards, with gentle eyes and a soft voice. She did not look like someone who commanded 300 warships. She did not look dangerous, at all. That, Rilo thought, was probably the most dangerous thing about her. "Thank you for inviting us," Nari began. Her voice was calm and polite. "Before I speak, I want to apologize for any concern our recent actions may have caused. We understand that our response to the attack might have seemed extreme." "Extreme?" Counselor Miva's voice was high with disbelief. "You mobilized 300 warships. You crossed 60 light years in 14 hours. You destroyed an 800-year-old empire in 11 minutes." She paused. "And you did all this for 17 people?" Nari nodded. "Yes." The chamber was silent. "I do not understand." Miva continued. "Why? Why risk so much for so few? 1 cargo ship, 17 lives. Is that worth starting a war?" Nari was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Softer, but also stronger. "On our world," she said, "there is an old story. A parable. A shepherd has 100 sheep. One of them wanders away and is lost. What does the shepherd do? Does he say, 'I still have 99. 1 sheep is not important'?" She shook her head. "No. He leaves the 99. He searches until he finds the 1. Because every single life matters." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each counselor. That ship carried 17 people. One of them was a captain who took a plasma bolt to protect his navigator. One was an engineer who built a radio from spare parts so they could call for help. One was a doctor who kept treating wounds even when he had no supplies. One was a navigator who told stories to children so they would not be afraid. Nari's voice grew stronger. And 6 of them were children. Children who trusted that someone would come to save them. She stepped forward. "You ask why we sent 300 warships for 17 people. I ask you this. How could we send anything less? A mother held her children in that cargo hold and believed that help would come. A wounded man stood in front of a door with nothing but a metal pipe, ready to fight monsters." The chamber remained silent. "We are humans," Nari continued. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our existence. Predators, diseases, disasters, our own foolish wars. But we survived. We survived because we learned the most important lesson any species can learn. We are stronger together. 1 human is weak. 100 million humans working together can move mountains, can cross stars, can break empires." She paused. The Cricks did not understand this. They saw a small ship with 17 people. They thought it was easy prey. They did not realize that those 17 people were connected to billions, that by hurting them, they had hurt us all. Counselor Torek spoke. His deep voice was thoughtful. "What you describe, it sounds beautiful, but also terrifying. If you fight this hard for your own people, what would you do to your enemies?" "That depends on the enemy," Nari replied. "The Cricks held over 2 million slaves from dozens of species. When they surrendered, we freed them all. Every single one. We did not ask for payment. We did not ask for territory. We simply let them go home." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "We are not monsters," Nari said. "We do not want war. We do not want enemies. We want friends, partners, neighbors who share our sky." She smiled, but there was steel beneath the gentleness. "But if anyone threatens our pack, we will remind them why the wolves of Earth are feared, not because we are cruel, not because we enjoy destruction, but because when something threatens what we love, we become what our ancestors were. And what were they? Relo asked. The most effective predators our death world ever produced. Patient. Clever. Cooperative. Unstoppable. Nari's smile faded. The Cricks learned this lesson. I hope no one else needs to. She turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. While we were fighting, we intercepted a signal from the cargo hold of the Starling. The children were hiding, and the navigator was telling them a story about how humans and wolves became friends long ago. How we taught each other to be family. Reeting, R. Her voice softened. At the end of the story, one of the children asked if the wolves would come to save them. The navigator said, yes, always. She was right. Nari looked back at the council. That is who we are. That is what we offer to the galaxy. Stand with us, and we will protect you as we protect our own. Harm the innocent, and face what the Cricks faced. She bowed slightly and walked out. Her two companions followed. The chamber was silent for a long time. Finally, Ambassador Relo stood. I think, he said slowly, that we should accept their offer of friendship. No one disagreed. Far away, the rescued crew of the Starling watched Earth grow larger through the viewports. Captain Tejo stood with his arm in a sling, surrounded by his people. Yuna, Sunwoo, Hana, the children, all of them alive. All of them safe. Little Yunji pressed her hand against the glass, looking at the blue planet below. Is that home? She asked. Tejo put his good hand on her shoulder. Yes, he said. That is home. And as long as that world exists, as long as there are humans in the stars, no one who calls for help will ever be alone. Unyi smiled. Because of the wolves? Tejo smiled back. Because of the wolves. And across the galaxy, in council chambers and observation stations, in homes and ships and colonies, other species watched the news and wondered what it would be like to have such protectors, wondered what kind of world could create such beings. On her station, xenobiologist Terrace turned off her display and sat in the darkness for a long time. Pack bonders, she whispered to herself. The strongest pack bonders in the galaxy, and for the first time, those words did not sound frightening. They sounded like hope.